What does it take to make a horror game? Is it the atmosphere, the sound design? Is it jump scares? All of these are right, or at least valid. However, from my experience, I noticed a pattern amongst nearly all horror games. And that's that horror has scary things that make the player feel vulnerable, things that build tension, and then that tension climaxes. Now this is super general enough to even apply to shooters, but hear me out. Horror games, or at least good horror games, typically have all three of these points, just cranked up a bunch. Let's begin with vulnerability. Players in horror games are rarely in control. They usually have some sort of limitation. For example, their senses might be dulled. For instance, in Little Nightmares, the setting is quite dark. Anything could be lurking in these shadows. Absolutely anything. But that's not tension. If I turned off the lights in your room right now, Alexa, turn off the lights. If by some miracle that got you, that's not tense. It just makes it easier to get spooked. Tension comes from storytelling, the atmosphere, player immersion, etc. If your lights are off right now, and I said, I'm in your walls, and then you hear knocking coming from the walls, then we have tension. Game-wise, we can look at Little Nightmares again. We've seen monsters, and we've seen them just chilling in the dark. We've been conditioned to recognize this vulnerability that is presented from the darkness. Lastly, let's talk about climaxes. And we might as well stick with Little Nightmares for the rest of the analogies. Little Nightmares' climax is typically a chase sequence. It is the culmination of all the tension we've built up. I've made this monster seem very spooky, and now it sees you. Generally, climaxes are not horror-y, as most of the fear is gone because I know where the monster is and I know what I gotta do. Avoid it. Climaxes are the payoff to all that built up tension. So that's that, right? We're ready to start making our game? Let's take a quick look at Five Nights at Freddy's, a horror game until it's not. In Five Nights at Freddy's, you are stuck in a security room at night with limited resources, vulnerability established. Animatronics tend to get a little quirky at night, tension established, and the climax is jump scares, which are okay. The anticipation of them is much more spooky, and in all honesty, it's not a bad game. But it overstays its welcome with nearly every aspect getting stale by the second or third night. So watch out for staling content. Great, so where do we begin? Well, we begin with an idea, and my idea came from last year when I joined a Halloween game jam. It wasn't Halloween themed, but I didn't care, so I made a game. The biggest premise with this game is that if I can't draw anything good, even if my life depended on it, then I simply will not draw. But how do you make it spooky without any visuals? Introducing my game jam, All Ears. Yeah, I don't know what I expected. I literally said there weren't any visuals. Anyways, I took inspiration from Barotrauma and Iron Lung, and the premise is you are a nautical drone exploring strange signals coming from an anomalous area in the ocean. Anomalous because a ton of dirt and debris is being kicked up, obscuring vision. The player can view their surroundings through Sonar, which are those little pips that show up on screen. Additionally, sound made by passive sources can also generate these sound pips, like the drone engine making sound, which is why you can see it. And whatever that is that's following us. The idea was going heavy on the fear of the unknown. You literally never see the thing that's making the sound. Is it hostile? Is it friendly? Is it even alive? Why is it still following us? You can stop. Go away. Stop. Lastly, your only navigation tool, which is the active sonar, is giving away your position. After all, sonar is not particularly quiet. But you need the sonar to not run into the rocky environment. I'm going to lift the veil now, which doubles as a cool tip for anyone planning to do a game jam that doesn't have a playtesting period. When I was presenting my game, I stopped right before we came across any unfinished stuff. We didn't have a playtesting period, so no one but myself knew that it was incomplete. This was the ending, by the way. You can probably guess why the game lags so much. Oh yeah, and there's lore. Can you really say it's a game jam game without some half-baked lore? Back to the criteria. Vulnerability is established, you can't see anything, your controls are sluggish, and your main tool for navigation is unreliable and giving away your position. Now for tension, if we go back to the vulnerabilities, you'd have no idea those are vulnerabilities unless I said so. As for climax, If you count the last scene, then sure, we got something. Either way, I really like the main premise, minus the art direction, and I've decided to revisit this idea and take you all on my journey to figuring out how to make a spooky game without resorting to jump scares. Hopefully. Maybe. The first order of business is to scrap everything from the old game, since it sucks. Like, a lot. I didn't separate code into separate scripts, I didn't comment anything, so going through it again took an entire day despite only having 16 scripts, 5 of which were empty. Anywho, I'm the master of self-sabotage, and it's a miracle it even functions. So, making decent code begins by going on Unity threads and watching tutorials. And then just stealing code in the end regardless. Shout out to Game Dev Beginner and Sasquatch Bee Studios for helping me turn this into this. No. Anyways, the main feature of the game is active sonar, as it's the main method of navigation. Wait, don't go, I'll do pictures. It basically works like this. A bunch of lines are drawn from the player outwards every 5 degrees. When the lines come into contact with an object, it will make a blip. Now, I'm a bit of a fool, and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if the pings can bounce off objects, like an echo, or go through stuff like, I don't know, but it makes it seem like the environment has more depth, and that only cost a bit of my sanity and game performance. Anyways, mobs cannot detect the player directly. There's no lock-on or line of sight. They have 4 senses though, and in order to progress, the player will inevitably reveal themselves. First and foremost is sonar pings, which the player can emit to navigate. It is extremely obnoxious to creatures, so the idea is to use it sparingly. Fun fact, high-intensity sonar can be deadly. Quickstar did a video on it if you're interested. The second detection method is light. We might as well have some sort of visual appeal, which the intention now being in order to actually see something, you're going to have to get pretty damn close. Anyways, light is also useful for navigation, and it's much less obnoxious than sonar, but also a bit weaker than sonar. The third detection method is sound, since the sub will make noise when it moves. The player can even see their own sound signature on the passive sonar, as those red blips on us when we move. Lastly, mobs can detect collisions. Revolutionary, I know. Now, with all of that implemented, we can make it look less bad by popping open Photoshop and Unity's particle system. A system for particles that move and stuff. Yeah, anyways, this is Bert, a curious little fella with a head of hair. We also have another mob, but I don't want to spoil it right away. Just know that they're stunned by sonar and they're deaf. And thus we have something. Kinda. The next step is playtesting. I quickly put together an area for the player to maneuver in, put some Berts in and a little surprise mob, got a friend to play it, and stream it. A surprisingly difficult task to do, especially when you ask them what their antivirus is. Anyways, this is how it went. Hi, thanks for watching until the end. The actual playtest didn't go like that. It actually involved my friend chasing the fishes since he thought he was supposed to kill them. I also told him where to go and I gave no context, so that didn't help. Anywho, the little play area was missing tension or climax. It was just my idea for the core gameplay. It's actually a nice demonstration that although we made the player very vulnerable with limited senses and slow responding controls, the lack of tension made the playtest not horror-y. Anyways, I'd love to hear you guys' feedback on the video or the game. Alright, thank you, goodbye!